Hey guys, here we are again in the Mojave Preserve, and I thought I would do a quick channel update. I've never done one of those before. I'm calling it a channel update because I wanted you to see my new rig. And this is a channel update because it's not really a recommendation of anything that anyone should do or a how-to video. It's not a how-to video really. It's just sort of talking about what's happened. I've had some nice inquiries from a few people about did we ever buy the GeoPro trailer, and no, we did not. And I want to thank my followers for their comments because it really helped clarify some of our needs when we go camping and helped me think more clearly about all the different considerations. There are just so many things to think about. I haven't posted many videos lately because I've been working a lot on this new rig, and it's been pretty exhausting. So that's the first point I would make about doing this, and then I'll show you what it is, and you'll see. Lots of work. And yeah, it's gorgeous here, but it is freezing, really cold and windy, and the new rig held up really well though in the super high winds. It was maybe up to 60 miles per hour here last night. Kind of hunkered down here out of the wind and the freezing temperatures. Anyway, you know, there's so many things about camping and different ways to go camping: car camping, truck campers, Class A's. I mean, huge range of things. And I'll let you know, even before we bought our A-Liner pop-up camper, I really was more interested in a sportsmobile van. But I looked at how long it took to get one, and the cost was over $100,000. And then I found this person's vlog, the couple that had been dragging their little trailer all over the Sierras, and it sounded so great. So that's how I got interested in the A-Liner. And the A-Liner's been good for us. Off-road capabilities are perfect for us. I mean, some people would laugh when I say, you know, I'm using the term off-road because we're really not people who like to go rock crawling and driving for long periods of time on really sketchy roads and crashing through water and all that. We sort of like to just find a campsite that, you know, that's remote, quiet, away from, you know, lots of noise, and just stay there and enjoy reading and doing our hobbies. And so we're not really so much into covering lots of ground because it's pretty hard to find these spots, honestly, that are really quiet and there aren't a lot of people there. And so once we find one, we just kind of like to stay there and have a little cabin in the woods type experience. Anyway, so I really had wanted a van, honestly, for a long time. I looked at Class C's, and I also, so the other part of the story is that I have a couple hobbies that I like to do, and now that I'm retired, I wanted to do more of those, maybe kind of force myself to get away from the house because, you know, when I'm home, I just have so much to take care of around there, so many repairs and things, you know, family things. And so I was hoping to find some kind of a way to maybe even have a little studio where I could go do these hobbies. I like to work on art occasionally, and I like to do electronic music making, not EDM electronic music making, but more just making music on the computer. And it's just nice to get away from home to do those things. You just feel more like it's a serious undertaking at that point. So just came across randomly this, you know, first I was just sort of started looking at old, you know, I looked at vans that were for sale and RVs that were for sale. I looked at some Class C RVs. I looked at some older, a really old Dodge Explorer that was from like the 70s. Because I do have a weakness for these older RVs. There's just something that seems kind of peaceful about the older RVs to me. Probably because I'm old. Anyway, so back in March, I bought this Class B RV. Wow, it is windy. And there it is. So there it is. It's a year 2000 Road Trek 200 Versatile. And we got it for pretty cheap. And I turned out there was a good reason for that. And I'm so excited that we made it out here to the Mojave Preserve, and it made it down this road where, honestly, the A-liner, when the stabilizer jacks were on the A-liner had a really tough time getting down this road, and this one made it fine. There weren't a ton of inches left to spare. I've had a bunch of work done on this van, and it's cost us quite a bit of money, more than the A-liner for sure, even though I paid way less than the A-liner for the van itself. But because of the age and the miles, 103,000 miles, it's been to Alaska, it turns out, by the previous owner. It's you know, found it at a sketchy dealership near my home. The plus about that was I didn't have to fly anywhere to get it, but it definitely needing a lot of things, and it needed a new windshield, it needed everything, and I honestly would love to go into all the everything with you, but it would just be such a long, tedious video. I've been working on this for like 9 months, and there's so many things that we've had to have done, and I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that I've done personally, and then some of the other work that had to be done, just in case you're thinking about doing a project like this. Back to talking about my hobbies, you know, towing just isn't what I wanted to be doing. It's too hard to park. It would be virtually impossible for me to go to some of the local parks around my home. If I have a van, I can go to the beach, I can go to local parks, go to the grocery store, all those things. And we still have our A-liner. We're not quite sure what we're going to do with the A-liner. I'm not, you know, maybe I could someday convince my husband to drive the 4Runner and the A-liner, and I drive the van, and then we'd have our nice little, much bigger camping compound where, you know, he could do his private thing, I could do mine, and we wouldn't be bumping into each other quite so much. Honestly, it's a little bit tiresome if you're doing that every day on an extended trip. Yeah, that's just a concept right now. I'm not sure if we're going to keep the A-liner. Yeah, this baby's definitely been around the block. Maybe someday I'll spring to replace that expensive little part right there. And I'm not done with all the work that needs to be done on this. I mean, someday it could use a paint job, it could use a lot of things. So it's a work in progress. Phase 1 was just getting it roadworthy. That in itself took a lot of patience and tenacity. And then getting the inside fixed up so that we could enjoy the inside. And this is our maiden voyage in this road trek. It's been truly kind of a shakedown trip here. We've found a bunch of things that aren't working for us, things that I had done that were maybe not good ideas. A lot of things are working fine, but the Fantastic fan broke, and the front brakes are pulling hard to the left, so we have to go get that looked at, and the RV heater is making a bizarre noise. So I think maybe the single thing that attracted me the most out of everything in this van, besides the fact that it wasn't really huge and it seemed like it wasn't as big as a Sprinter van, it also wasn't as ritzy looking as a Sprinter van, was this eating working area. We love this dining table. It's really sturdy, and you can add this extension on for people sitting in these two chairs. So Ranger gets to sit on that chair when we want him out of our hair. He has to go in his crate, but he always gets a treat. Lots of yummy treats. And they're basically 4 seats here. Very comfortable seats. I mean, this seat is super big. So I just thought that was a great work area for doing my hobbies and also for eating, and we can leave this up all the time and we don't have to put it away like we would have in our A-liner trailer. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to make any recommendations, but I highly recommend this improvement to anyone thinking about doing a similar project, which I know isn't very many people, but back in the day, when they made this year 2000 road trek, 20 years old, they had this nifty design for the drain line. And it has a black, this RV technically has a black tank, a gray tank, and a fresh tank. And for the drain line, they had, of course, the black tank and the gray tank all flushing through one pipe here. And inside that pipe, a solid pipe, they had the slinky hose permanently attached inside the solid pipe here. So what inevitably happened was the slinky hose would be pulled in and out a lot, and it would fray and get holes in it and start leaking all around, and the sewage was leaking, and it was really, really hard to fix this thing. You had to get under the van, take the pipe off. There are articles on how to do it. Now, if anyone who owns a road trek likes this system, I apologize. I think it was a design nightmare. I really think they should have just done the typical RV drain line where you take the slinky hose and screw it on at the dump and do your draining. So what I did was I paid an RV shop. Now you could do this project yourself, honestly, if you were ambitious. I paid an RV shop to take off the drain line and put a whole new solid drain line on for me with no slinky pipe. And we've also abandoned our black tank, where it's still on the van, but we're not using it. We put a porta potty in instead. And I hope you don't mind if I give you the details that that's basically just for number 1. We have a different system for number 2. I'll talk about that maybe in a future video, but it's kind of a composting toilet idea. This is just for gray water now. That's it. So I feel comfortable. We cleaned out the black tank with a wand several times, dumped it several times before we had the work done. It was kind of insisted upon by the repair shop. And this is our portable gray tank from the A-liner. It still screws on right here. So it's wonderful. We like it. It's just like the A-liner drainage system. And if we go to an RV park, we can sort of fudge and say, yeah, we have hookups, but we have no intention of ever using that black tank unless we put the old RV toilet back in, which we're not going to do. So maybe if someone ever buys this from me, I'll just give it, if they want it, I've still got it. They can put it back in. We just really love boondocking and not having to go to dump sites. We're finding dump sites miles from here. Where we are right now, I don't think there's a dump site very, very close at all. It takes time, money, mileage, gas. It's just not something we want to get involved in. And I hate to report, this is one of the things you should, if you buy a used RV from a dealer, what happened to me was that this was one of the items I just didn't pay attention to. They kept telling me they were checking everything. They were checking the water heater and the water pump and the air conditioner and everything. They said they were going to do their inspection, but it was as is. Well, I knew what as is meant. It was basically that all the things they were telling me didn't matter. It was all on I was going to have to fix a lot of stuff, and I have had to. But what happened was I didn't pay attention to what was going on here, and I honestly never had an RV with a black tank that I had to drain before. So it was time for me to get this project done, and I went to the dump to dump it the first time. And this is a gross story, so if you're eating a meal, you might want to fast forward at this point. I'll give you a second to fast forward here. Okay, so what was here was just a cap like this, but the cap was so old and worn out that it was just being held on by some blue, it looked like kind of like painter's tape or duct tape or something. And I thought, oh, that's probably, it had like some wires around it. And so I thought, oh, that'll work. That's probably okay. So we get to the dump site and, we start taking this thing off, and we're ready to hook up the slinky hose. And I look down on the ground, and here is this pile of stuff that had just dumped off the cap right here. And the RV store had never really cleaned the tanks thoroughly. Even though they said they did. This is another reason I will never really want to go to a RV dump site, because that kind of thing can happen. So I'm very happy that we got this done. It was totally worth it. And I replaced the RV toilet with a Thetford porta potty, the Thetford 335, and it's been okay so far. The only thing that I don't like about it is when you flush it, it's got the bellows flush. Some of the water gets trapped under this little toilet seat thing, and then it kind of leaks out a little bit. I don't think it's any of the really bad stuff. I think it's just the flushing water. But it's been very good so far, and the same height as the toilet that used to be there. Here's where you would take your shower, by the way. Shower curtain rolls around on this track. And the Fantastic Fan, which is broken, maybe I mentioned, that's the vent for the Fantastic Fan, and it's pretty easy. The shower curtain rolls pretty quickly. There's a drain. The biggest dysfunctional feature of this van, in one of them, is that you have to get it completely level, or else you're going to have water flowing way back under this door into the rest of the room. The drain is right here, but the floor isn't sloped enough to keep all the water down here in the shower area. Remade all the curtains, brand new curtains with block outliner, and had to make this cab curtain, which is kind of hard to see in this light. It's made from a couple of stadium blankets. It's quilted fabric, waterproof, and that's been fantastic. It goes all the way to the floor, whereas the old ones were just kind of cut off where people, just to block the view of people outside, and it really keeps it warmer in here. Here's the insulated curtain made out of the stadium blankets. Honestly, it could be a little heavier, but it's doing a lot. Now, since this is our shakedown trip here, I hope you don't mind. The inside of our van is kind of a mess right now. And we replaced all the light bulbs with LED bulbs and replaced this light with a whole new light, an LED light. I also made these covers and insulated pads for these skylights, and that's been working really great. In fact, I might do another video on, this is better than Reflectix, so I might do a separate video on those. There used to be two kind of pink curtains hanging on these two tracks that I haven't taken the tracks down yet, and they hung down kind of like like a tent or something. It seemed to make the room smaller, and they were just kind of in the way, and they look kind of made it less clean looking. So I redid those, also replaced all the hardware with some brushed nickel. Still need to work on the cabinets though, and I have kind of a plan going for maybe changing the color a little bit. And figured out the winter camping setup mode with this water dispenser and drained all the water tanks. You can't have a self-respecting van tour without showing some of the storage. Here's the coolest storage area, I think. I can get my little piano keyboard in here, MIDI keyboard for making music, and my art supplies, and the dog toys, dog jacket. But there's this nifty little shelf up here for cell phones and things like dog horns. That's to scare the bears. And we've got pretty good storage back here for clothes. We took out the microwave so we can get our electronics box there, and a bunch of miscellaneous tools just for easy grabbing. And that white stuff is just to keep the cold air from the air conditioner coming in, which is pretty. That happened to us on the A-liner too. We had to put some stuff up. Lots of clothes fit in these two right here. We can just keep pushing stuff back in there. So that's, sorry A-liner folks, but it's great to have some places like that just to keep your clothes in, and you don't have to take them down and put them back up. And down here, found a whole lot of good new plastic storage items. And one of the negatives of the van is that it has less storage space than the combined storage in our 4Runner and A-liner. And the trick to getting everything to fit, which took quite a bit of thought and looking around and being creative, is to change your mindset to nooks and crannies packing, and finding and using every little single tiny little nook and cranny, and not having things in big containers for the most part. So for example, under the sink here in the kitchen cabinets, I found some special little plastic containers that hold just one can width. I'll put a link to these But these are great. They fit right in there. It can fit 3 cans and some other stuff. They just happen to all fit in there, and I can get 2 of them back in there. So nooks and crannies, there's all kinds of stuff like that that I've had to find. And this is the closet that used to be for hanging up your fancy duds. There used to be a hanging rack right here. Now I decided that that was a waste of space, and so we're using it for clothing, food, mixture, but I put these shelves in here, and now we can fit all our dried food practically, except for a few items, in that white bucket there. And we also could fit our cooler in there, and then this is for our jackets and my art supplies. And here's the wacky old air conditioner. Did I mention that it gets pretty hot in this van compared to the A-liner? We have to get this air conditioner fixed. It was working for about a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden it died, and we're going to do it ourselves because we learned that the RV repair shops like to really mark up everything they put in your van. They mark it way up beyond what it would cost for you to buy it online. Well, there's not a ton of counter space in this kitchen until you look at this that we discovered several months after we bought the van. It fits a cutting board right there. Here's the clever way that they designed the cabinets to shut off the bathroom from the dining area. Push on this lever. And this refrigerator is 20 years old, and it seems to be working just great. Knock on plastic. Real shocker. It's huge. It's got 4 cubic feet. I mean, we just end up putting all of our bread in there now. A lot of stuff we normally wouldn't even think of using up refrigerator space for. Now, the funny thing about this is, being 20 years old, it doesn't have an electronic ignition. The one negative about this refrigerator is that the flame will be blown out on the road from just the wind. And so you'll see this in the white, and I assume there's just propane coming out. I have no idea. So we have to constantly keep monitoring it, and we also do have to keep monitoring the temperature over here. It's the little trick to know is that with these older ones, you have to turn it to off if it's getting too cold. It'll freeze everything very, very quickly. In fact, it gets everything cold very quickly on propane. It's morning time here, and I thought I'd mention that we also did get the Wave 3 heater in here. It's in the cupboard. I had someone put a quick connect gas line underneath the counter, and it's been working great. Actually, I have to report it's a 30-degree differential in temperature from the outdoor temperatures, which is better than in the A-liner. But this van is this is a totally different temperature situation. I'm sorry, I've got the curtains down in there to keep it warmer, but the back end is 10 degrees colder than out here in the front end with the Wave 3. So here I am in the back of the road trek in the bed area, and back here I had to make a screen. Basically, I tried a lot of different objectives with this one window. I've spent lots of time on this one window. Back in the day when they made these older road treks, you can read online about all the water leaks, different types of water leaks people had from the windows in these vans. Some people lost glass on the road. This particular window has latches that they don't stay shut on the road because when the vibration kicks in, they just gradually work their way up, and then the whole window can just kind of pop off. I had to rig up a way to latch this down when we're on the road so it won't come off. There are so many different stories of all the water leaks, so I had to take this entire wall off, and I rebuilt the entire bed platform because it was rotten from various water leaks. There were 3 different kinds in this one window alone from people trying to fix the leaks over the years. And I also made this screen because the other thing maybe I mentioned is that it gets really hot in this van because of all the tiny little windows and not much airflow. So I wanted to make this a venting window when it wasn't really intended to be a venting window. So And then to keep the mosquitoes out, I wanted a screen. I do like the fact that we don't have to put the bed away to sit down and use a dinette. I love that, in fact, so this is really convenient. I just wish the bed was a lot bigger. I made this custom window shade for the back window, which gets super, super hot, and it's been very, very effective. I might do a video on that. Another thing I had to do because of the storage limitations on this van, I had to remake one of our solar panels, and it turned out great. But it gave us a chance to actually improve our ground deploy solar system and get it all on one solar controller. So now we can really see the total amps if we hook up 2 panels. Made my own little folding solar suitcase. And this RV has a generator. Most of these controls seem to still be working. It's running right now. That's what it sounds like. And you have to make sure all the windows are closed back there so you don't breathe the fumes. It's not quite as nice on the fume front as when you're running just a Honda 2000i out somewhere away from your rig, but it's really convenient to be able to just start it up right here and not have to set up the other generator.